Oh, we are live. This is the regular meeting at Agile Ventures for our project RFM, and it's Faith, Joseph, and Tonida who are taking part. Hello, everybody. Yeah. And someone is, Tonida is laughing at something funny. Well then, let's quickly have a recap about the latest changes. I actually wanted to deploy the fastboot branch, but I couldn't find time for doing so. Just to give a little recap on that one, Ember fastboot was, what was Ember fastboot again? Does anybody remember? Apparently
something
not.
to do with server-side rendering, right?
Yes, Tonida, you're right. Absolutely. It has to do with server-side rendering. You have a JavaScript app, and this JavaScript app is rendered in your browser. And additionally, you can run it on the server for every browser that cannot run JavaScript for some reason, including crawlers, right? So for search engine optimization, it's crucial to have server-side rendering. All right. And it's not done. I fixed the only thing that I did was to fix the staging environment. Is it working now? I'll give it a quick check. So I don't know if you know, but we indeed have a staging environment. And it's outdated, I believe, but at least it's working. I'll put it into the Slack, our staging environment. I will use that to test our fastboot server. And something you may not know, if you have a branch called staging, that one is going to be deployed on that environment. So if you want to test something out, in production, you can also push it to staging, and you will see it here. You will see it on that address. On Matt, hello.
Matt.
Yeah.
Hey, Matt.
You know what?
I know, right?
Yeah.
More pairing.
Yeah. Nice. So I was wrong. I thought you had your talk already. You will have your talk.
Yeah, it's gonna be on Friday. So
on Friday.
I just gave a dry run again to it.
Was wrong in my head. Yeah. And you're talking about the Dockerization of Web Server 1, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing. It's funny because you talked to one person, like I did it for Sam and Federico at the AV community talk, and they had some feedback, and then I did it for my friend who has given talks here in Brazil, and is the reason I actually got into programming. And they have completely different advice, you know.
Do you have a recording of your dry run?
Yeah, I have both. Yeah. Although the last recording I made.
If you want to have yet another advice, which is different.
FOMO.
Same, yeah. Like get 5 more, 4 more advice. Pieces of advice.
Different advice.
One more time.
Yeah. Are you excited? Are you anxious?
Sorry?
Are you anxious about it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm even more anxious. My friend was like, just to leave you, like this. If you do bad this time, you'll probably never get invited again. I'm like, and he's like, it's really, really important for your career. It can leverage leverage your career to do amazing things. And so, basically, like, don't fuck it up. I'm like,
Who said that? Who said that?
My friend, he's like
Say?
I believe it. He said it in a positive way. My friend, he's a friend of mine.
I hope you don't take it that serious, like how you explained it to us just now. You're going to be fine. The audience will be, how to say in English, forgiving. And just say that's your first talk at a major conference or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
And you will get an extra applause at the end.
And also, you know, I mean, I think like one of the things there's a couple things that he said that I really liked, you know, and one of those is like, just at the beginning, like, you know, I'm going to talk about myself, of course, and like, you know, how I'm new to programming and just like ask a question, you know, like how many people in here have given a talk at a big conference before? Raise your hand, you know, and how many people have more than 10 years experience in programming, you know, and how many people, you know, gave a talk after they had one year experience.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Just that's what. Yeah. Perfect. I would do exactly the same way. And then yeah, the people in the audience are all just humans. So all just human beings, just like you and me, and everybody is excited when you go onto the stage. As in my experience, the only thing we are somehow afraid of is when you wait for it. As soon as you go on the stage, everything just works, right? You don't think about, oh, I'm standing in front of a big audience. It's more like you concentrate on your talk, and that's it. If you well prepare, you're going to be fine. How long does it take last? How many minutes?
It's 45, but like
45?
I'm shooting like, yeah.
That's a lot.
Do you have technology meetups at your place?
Yeah, we have. I'm part of a Ruby Floripa group that we have meetups. We were having English Hack Night, but then people are really lazy with their English learning, and I'm trying to get people to like, you know, come to Agile Ventures, you know, and you can have free English classes, you know, just join and listen in or practice if you want, you know, like. But you know,
but I'm asking because at those technology meetups, usually the program is like you have 2 or 3 main talks, and there's always space for some lightning talks. And lightning talks are a great way to prep for your talking, for your speaker skills.
Yeah, I mean, it was never the plan to like, you know, speak at a big conference after such a short period of time. It was like more like, you know, joining the marketing meeting and like, how can I help out? Like, you know, talk about Agile Ventures. And the idea was, I was thinking is like to go there with like a little booth there. I could have like a, you know, behind a little table, and I could pass out some things and talk to people one-on-one and share my experiences and be like, yeah, Agile Ventures rocks. Come hang out, you know? And then he was like, well, you know, why don't send me a description you want to give, and I was like, okay, I'll send it to him, you know, it's good prep. And then he accepted it, and I was like, oh, what did I do to myself? But you know, it's good. It's as Faith sent me a video that some of the best things in life are after fear, you know. So
but I don't get it quite. So you wanted to advertise Agile Ventures at your talk, which is fine. And what was the problem about it?
Well, he was just like, it seems like they don't have like booths, like, you know, where people can stay and pass out. And they did have a need to fill for people to actually speak, you know. So then he was like, well, send me something about what you want to talk about, you know.
Yeah, probably he will give you some kind of, how do you say it in front and just before the talk? Introduction. He would just introduce you to the audience, and he will probably talk about what you're working for, like in which environment, and so on and so on.
Yeah.
So
the name of my talk is Agile Ventures, crowdsourced learning and software development as part of a distributed team. So I'm going to talk about Agile Ventures and about like crowdsourced learning and about what we do for software development and how it is to be part of a distributed team. And then I'm going to jump into like the Dockerization of Website 1, you know.
Well, actually, then there's one advice that you're going to have now. Make 2 talks out of it. Is it possible?
I mean, not at this point, no. Like it's already, but it is actually something that I want to do, because like my friend, he didn't look at, like, he didn't go online and look at the description of the talk. I didn't send it to him previously. And I guess there's probably lots of people in the crowd that wouldn't have done that. And the name of my talk doesn't say anything about Docker. So I'm gonna have like a table of contents. This is something Sam gave me an idea of, and then like that way I can go, you know, have like a workflow of what I'm gonna be when I'm moving on from one thing to the next, you know.
See. So the Docker thing is just an example for your talk. Like you explain.
It's gonna be like half of my talk.
The workflow, and take the Docker task as an example that you yourself implemented.
He one of the things he said is that, like, you know, don't make it just a sales pitch for Agile Ventures like that. We're not interested in, like, we want tech.
Yeah, you always have this this requirement,
you know, and then
people go to the conference because they want to learn something. They want to develop their skill set, and they don't want to go there, pay money, and listen to a sales talk. That's probably not what they want. But in that case of Agile Ventures, it's probably something many people never heard about. Like a lot of I would expect many people work in an office on site. They never worked in a distributed team. They never had a lot of open source contributions. So fair enough. Okay. Anyways, yeah, I'll just keep my fingers crossed for your talk. Everything is going to be fine. Don't worry about it. Well, let's get back to RFM before you all join. Yeah, it's recorded. Your talk is going to be recorded on the conference. Matt? Matt?
I think he froze.
He froze. Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah. You froze, Matt.
Can you hear me now? Yeah, sorry about that. So the weird thing about this conference is that I'm sharing the stage with another speaker. So there's going to be two people giving two different talks at the same time, and the crowd needs to decide who they want to listen to, and they can switch in between who they want to listen to, and they put on like headphones to pay attention to the speaker. So it means that there's going to be like twice as many people in the crowd, you know, and it also means that I can't ask questions, and like interacting with. Ask a question, like raise your hand if you, and then like nobody is actually listening to me. So,
oh, that sounds strange. But is the talk going to be recorded? The real talk?
Yeah.
Nice. Send it to us later on. Cool. All right, let's go back to RFM. Someone lost.
Mike.
Mike, he left the group chat. Okay, hope he's going to join us again. So back to RFM. I just said the MF Fastboot branch is fine as of now. There is a login page. So Matt, you do maybe remember we implemented the server-side rendering. I'll show it to you, and this is what I want to share with you, how it looks like now. I don't know if I showed it last time, but many people haven't been here. So
yeah,
Amber Fastboot, and I wanted to have some kind of login screen. When you click on, I want to support that broadcast, so people don't get error and address in use. Address already in use. What? Oh. Okay. No way. Docker, your favorite topic.
Yes.
Might plus Docker.
we're actually Dockerizing NHS Wiki to push to Doku, and Doku doesn't support Docker Compose, so we need to actually like Dockerize it without using Docker Compose, which is interesting.
What happened? Can you still hear me?
I can still hear you, yeah.
Can you still hear me? Yeah, I would just wonder because my browser's telling me your network changed. Sometimes I have network connectivity issues. I wanted to send you a nice meme. No, okay, that doesn't work. Sad. Okay, but you still can hear me. That's fine.
Yep.
And now it should be all good. So I'm starting all the processes, going to localhost.
You're not screen sharing anymore, by the way. You're not screen sharing.
Say it again.
You're not screen sharing anymore.
Oh.
Mike is back.
And Mike Ono, you're back.
Oops.
Who is hungry?
Matt.
Oh.
I am hungry too. It's nice to meet you.
And then in the background and just else. Well, if Robert's not going to join us, I guess I'll give my talk again.
Yay! When is it? On Friday?
We don't have headphones.
Where which meetup is that?
It's an international conference.
Wow. About what? Like what's the umbrella?
I will let Matt take it from here.
Matt, tell me.
Thank you, Faith. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining me today. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about Agile Ventures, the future of software development. I was just seeing, I think my last talk I gave, I accidentally kept the screen pointed at my buddy instead of at my slides. So yeah. Oh man. I can go back and watch his facial expressions as he listened to me speak.
This is going to be interesting.
Yeah, I'm gonna send him a message. I saw you rolling your eyes at me.
Okay, sorry for being disconnected. Something has happened to my network. Maybe that was Docker also.
Probably.
I don't know.
I can add it to my talk.
Paulo.
The good part is that now the front end is running on my machine. So this is how it looks. And it's server-side rendered. You will see something even if the browser is still fetching data, right? So I'm seeing something and you see this spinning, you saw the spinning icon. And if you want to participate and you want to support a broadcast, for example, that one, you will see this. Please log in before you create your data to avoid losing access. Is that actually proper English? I just wanted to, could you see my screen?
I can't.
No,
oh, no.
There we go.
Can you see my screen now?
There it is. Oops, it's gone again.
Yeah, on and off.
There it is.
Okay. Weird. Okay, if I have some troubles, just interrupt me. So You click on participate, you want to support that broadcast, and you see this. Is it actually proper English, Matt? Please log in before you click data to avoid losing access. Maybe losing access to it?
No, I think it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think.
But here we could have a nice link, for example, a link and saying why, and then when I click on it, I would get it to the FAQ.
Well, for me, when I read that, it says you need to log in before you create data to avoid losing access. So to me, it's like I have to log in and then create data. If I don't, then I'll not have access to this website or something.
Lose access to data or lose access to...
Yeah, I think
so it doesn't say like what. So
that part might be a little unclear. Yeah.
I didn't get it.
Yeah, he said that when if I understood what he said is you said please log in, create data to avoid losing access before you create data to avoid losing access. So he thought it means log in to create data and then to avoid losing access to the website. So it's not, is it access to the website or losing access to data?
Yeah, it's like you'll be kicked out if you don't log in.
Yeah.
Okay, Matt, what is a good motivating reason why someone would log in? I mean, the point is, otherwise you would just dump data in, and we couldn't say which data, whose data it is, and meaning you also lose access to it, because how could we say that this profile belongs to you? The data is here, but we cannot associate it with any user. There's no way of getting it back because there's no email address or anything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sending something that I think maybe.
Yes, thank you, Matt. My hero.
the only native English speaker in the group.
Yeah, it's so much better.
Yeah,
I'll put that in Slack just to have for reference for when I change it later on. So the deployment there is Amber Fastboot app server. Amber Fastboot app server, and that needs some manual intervention, and it just didn't have the time to do it. Because you have this index.js and you have to configure it, because if you want to roll new versions of it, then the server needs to get notified. And we are currently deploying it just with SCP on our VPS server. So there's no magic. There's no S3 bucket or anything. We just have our VPS server and we just upload the code. That's it. And then we have to notify the app, oh, there's something that changed. And okay, so this is a little bit more tricky, and I didn't have the time to do it yet. I hope we'll have the time next week or this week. Let's see. But maybe Faith, you want to continue because you did a lot of things. You Rubocopped our whole repository.
Ooh.
Yay, Faith.
Yes.
You can show us your screen and show us the GitHub page and explain what you did. Or maybe, I don't know, you had a couple of commits and just tell us about it.
Okay. So there are lots of commits. Oh.
I can see it. It's on your left side, in the report in the GitHub plugin. There's row Schäfer, Rundfunk mitbestimmen. The third row.
Yeah, that one.
There it is.
Exactly.
And you have to click on closed pull request because it was already merged.
Mitbestimmen.
What did you say, Matra? What?
Mitbestimmen. That's how you say it in Portuguese, because the TIs in Portuguese have like a ch sound, so it'd be like mitbestimmen.
Ah. Yeah, sorry for the name. Maybe in a future version we can also use a different name, but for now this name is online with all the media reports of 2017. If we would change the name, we would probably lose the connection to the media reports. But next time I will think about a name that is also easily to pronounce in English.
No, the name is fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah, we're not going to vote you a new name.
Yeah.
Rundfunk.
Mischievous.
Yeah. So, Faith, you are showing us your browser, and there's you're going to you checking out the commit one by one, or do you want us just to show us the whole diff?
I want to show you what you want to see. What do you want to see?
Yeah. So this is your pull request, and yeah, and you use Rubocop not only in the backend folder but for everything, including the step definitions, right?
Yes.
How was it? Was it easy?
Yes, it was easy.
Cool.
A little bit confusing, but it was easy.
What exactly was confusing?
So like, line 4. I'm used to, I expected that I'd say this in the Scrum before, but I expected without the asterisks. This Robocop.yml should understand that I mean everything in these node modules.
Yeah.
Just like in the normal. But unfortunately, I had to do this to make sure that for it to do what I wanted it to do.
Yeah.
And then everything else was fine. I just had so many commits because of the situations where I forget that some instructions were directed to a folder inside the backend. And now I have to rearrange, like the previous file was written with the idea that the Rubocop file was inside the backend. So I just had to most of the commits were mainly because of the idea that I had to remember. You now need to switch.
That's a good catch. I oversaw it. I overlooked it in the review. Maybe you could show us how we can see a file if a file was moved from one place to another. You can see it actually in this window. You can see it in this view. However, you really have to look very closely because it's very easy to miss it. It's actually, if you move your mouse a little bit further up in the window, you see there's backend.rubocop YAML and then an arrow to the right, and there's .rubocop. So that means this file was renamed, which also means in Git that this file was moved from one folder to another. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So this is a good exercise because I overlooked it. I didn't even pay attention to it. I didn't spot it. And so if you do a code review, you should always maybe put some attention which file is actually going to be moved from which place to which one, right?
Okay.
Yeah, but that makes sense. The Rubocop file now has to be in the top level folder.
Yeah. And then, so this is the other tricky bit that I am not sure I did as expected. So there's a place we're including, I could just show you. I could just look it up. That's easier. So is that way I could directly go to this file?
You can just copy the path and then say open and then paste it in, and then that should be it.
So say open.
Yeah, in your editor. So I don't know which editor you're using. I can say
I
open
wanted to.
file and then put in a path to the file. Yeah, in that editor, you can say open, and it should show you some
Where?
kind of file browser.
So
Okay,
here.
it doesn't. It's Mac and oh yeah, maybe there. No.
Nope. But I wanted to do it on just on GitHub.
All right.
Mm. Internet is slow here. I'm using my neighbors.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, I don't have power in my house. But
Your neighbor is nice.
Your neighbor is what?
Nice. Is his name Mike by any chance?
Are you actually living close to each other? Have you seen you're all from Nairobi, aren't you? Except you met.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for me it's different.
I noticed today that Mike is not from Nairobi. He told me today.
Mike is from a city that's
It's
close
so
to hours, so far away from here.
far away, like 8 hours drive from Nairobi.
I couldn't understand you. Sorry.
Who?
So that's where you are right now, Mike.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like 8 hours
Mike-
from Nairobi.
Yeah.
And Joseph and
Well,
Tonida.
for me, I'm in Russia currently.
You're in Russia.
Yeah,
You are
I was
such a
born there.
liar.
It's a long story.
Such a liar.
My maiden name is Joseph, not Joseph. Yeah,
He
it's
went
a
for
long
the
story.
World Cup. He went for the World Cup and never came back.
You're crazy, Joseph.
Okay.
So Joseph is in Nairobi.
So you're just joking.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
But did you meet each other in person?
Yeah, I've met Tonida. I've met Tonida,
Yeah.
and
you
I've
met
met Faith, but Mike is so far. Like it's an 8-hour drive. It's like going to another country.
It is.
Yeah.
It was a long time.
I'm traveling to São Paulo is like a 12-hour drive, but I'm taking a plane. So
wow. You're traveling to another country.
yeah.
Because I don't have power and I'm at 4%, there's a high chance I'll drop off before everyone else. But
okay, so I'll make this suggestion. Could you just send us the you wanted to show us something? Maybe you can send it on Slack. You can just connect to a power outlet, and yeah. All right.
No, I can't because I don't have power. But I just wanted like quick clarification. So Robocop was complaining about how we're having this line 55, yet this file does not have a class. So they're saying you include something only since you don't have a class, it had an issue, and this is why I opted to exclude it.
Yeah, it's fine. This environment is a special configuration for Capybara.
Okay.
No, for Cucumber, Ruby. Cucumber Ruby reads in the file support/env.rb.
Yep.
That's the environment of Cucumber Ruby, and there you can do all the configuration stuff and configure Capybara and everything. It's fine. It's perfectly fine. So thank you so much, Faith, for your contribution. I'm so glad that you did it. I was just too lazy to do it at the time.
Before we drop off, maybe you could tell us who's this Robocop guy you're talking about that he was complaining.
So it's like in the fashion world, fashion police. Robocop is a Ruby police.
Oh.
It's a code litter.
Yeah, it's a code litter.
Ah, nice.
Just there to ensure sanity and conventions are being followed when you're writing code.
Ah,
It's like ESLint for Ruby.
But you can configure it the way you want as well, right? So like there's different conventions for like method line length, for example. Like some people say it's 5 and some people say 7, some people say 10.
Yeah, so that's the other thing about having a Robocop.yml in your project. Then it means, because now you can have extensions in your code editor that has Robocop, but then they have different configurations. So you don't want to have a project that has a Robocop.yml so that every developer follows this and not what's in their editor or what they think they should do.
Yep.
Yeah. We would. I would like to follow the community standard as far as possible. Cool.
Awesome.
All right. Then Joseph.
Oh yeah, it's my turn. Okay. So for me, I was supposed to work on this ticket or issue when you change the language and then you refresh, it goes back to the default language, which is English. So as you can see now, the language is persisted when I change to German. I refresh, it's still German.
Nice. So you did it already locally. So it's already implemented on your machine.
What?
You did it already. You implemented it. I haven't seen a pull request yet.
Yeah, I haven't because you see, I'm currently logged in, right? I've changed the language to German, so I expect if I go to later on, maybe this you didn't request this. It's just like I think it's a good idea. If I log in, the same user, I should be able to the website should be able to remember the current browser or the database. Maybe you should persist the data there. So if I log in, sorry for this, like you see, it's back to default.
I see.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I looked at the code. So the way to solve that is before. So this is the function that's ran when you first load the app. It translates the page. So I was just checking to see if the session has been saved for that language. If it's there, then we do that. Else, we just do the normal one that sets the language to default.
Mm-hmm.
So
maybe you can explain the others. What is a session and what is a store? Sorry, what is a session and what is a service in Ember?
So a session, okay, this one okay, so the session is the session for the current user. So you can save data there and you can retrieve it as long as that session has not expired. There is like you can store them actually even in a cookie or local storage. There are those places in the browser that you can save your data to if you don't want to lose it on refresh. Or
so there are different implementations for it. You can the session is more or less a concept, and you can implement it in different ways. There's the session cookie, or there's in new modern browsers the local storage.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's that one where I try to see if in the cookie there is something or the session. If there is, I get the language, and then I translate the whole page to that language.
Right. Yeah, and there's so many cases that you just have to keep in mind, right? So right now is the browser language if you're not logged in. So you can change the language according to your browser. Some browsers are the browser UI language could be German, then German would be the preferred language.
Yeah.
And there's the user input, that is, if you click on it, right? So this should be
Yeah.
authoritative in general. So if you click on, I want that language, that is the ultimate decision. Like, that's the authoritative one. And there could also be a previous language, right? So you clicked on it in the last, I don't know, 5 minutes, and you revisit the site, then you want to have the old language back. And there is the case that you're logged in, and there's actually the language in the database, right? So when you log in, your page should be translated. Does that make sense to everyone? Do you understand all the different possible cases that we could have?
Yeah, for me, I do. I don't know if.
Tonina, Mike, Matt, and Faith?
Yep, I'm with you. What is einloggen means log in or means log out? Because
Einloggen is log in. Ein means in.
Yeah.
So it's in log.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because it seemed like when Joseph was explaining it and saying you can see I'm logged in, it seemed like the button said log in. So it seemed like you weren't actually logged in when you were doing that whole switch to language and refresh.
Yes, exactly. So here's exactly, this is why I tried to explain it to you. You have to keep all the different cases in mind. You can be either authenticated or not. And if you're not authenticated and you click on German, this locale is stored in your session in your browser.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So then if you open up a different browser, then it's not going to have that information. So now if you do the same test, it should have.
It should have the language, yeah.
And you're showing us a different browser now, right, Joseph?
Yeah, I mean incognito, and then
but it doesn't show.
Yeah, it doesn't change the language, so that's why I didn't raise the PR first. I was trying to figure out if I might be able.
It's expected, is it? I would say that would be expected.
So the reason why like I didn't proceed is because here I saw that you are getting the store and then querying the user, and then you're setting the user localization to the current language, and then you're saving the user. So this part I didn't understand. So maybe I thought I could use this. The store maybe is the state of your application. So I don't know if you are saving it to the database. If so, then here now, when I'm checking, before I check to see if there is the language in the session, I could add another statement to check if the user is authenticated, or if there is a user, then I get the language from the user in the database, and then I return that language.
Yes, exactly.
So if that was possible, then this one should be German, like this one.
But you log in on the right side.
Yeah.
That's true. Okay.
So that's the knowledge gap that I didn't know, like how to do that to get the user.
Yes, exactly. So you're pointing out something very important here. So we have the service. Service is an Ember.js thing that helps you to store and retrieve data from anywhere in your application. That is the front-end application. Has nothing to do with the backend for now. So on last locale, on line number 21, Joseph is querying in the browser this session. There's no backend request, no nothing, if there was a previous language. Then he's now asking, because in the other file, in the language chooser file, we are saving the language. So this one here is this method choose happens when someone clicks the button to change the language. That is, he made a choice. I want to have that language. And then if he's authenticated, this will be stored along with his user profile. Does it make sense? In the backend, in the database. Then this will issue a request. Line number 17 will issue a backend request.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. I mean, I guess for me, it just doesn't make sense that if we're storing this already in the back end, why are we not retrieving it from the back end when the person visits?
Because
he might not be logged in.
No, I know, but after they log in.
Yeah, then we'll take.
Yeah, that's what I want to do now.
Yeah, I know, but why isn't that already implemented? Like, what's the point of saving it in the back end if we're not using it from the back end?
Right. Yes. Good question. It is actually used, and the bug is you log in, the language is changed, and then you hit refresh, and you're back to your old state.
Okay. Yeah.
So it was saved in the user profile, and it was also correctly retrieved. There was a behavior that if you log in, then your code local is going to be changed if you saved it along with your user profile. But if you then hit refresh, then this setting was gone. And
so when it's retrieved, it needs to be added to the person's session as well.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. And vice versa. If you add it to the session, you also want to retrieve it from the session. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And you have to get the precedence right. So I don't even know what is the best order in which you say.
The best order, I think, it's if it's in the database. If the user has one that's saved, then that's what we are going to use. If there is none, then we go to the session. If the session doesn't have anything, then we just go with the default.
Yeah, I would probably do the same thing. Exactly. Yeah, that's a good stuff. Great. So the only thing you have to do is to retrieve the session.
Yeah.
So the only thing you have to do is make it all work.
So from here, so if I wanted to do the same thing, like so this is the idea I had. So I see here you are getting the session, like if the user is authenticated. So I see here you have like this object and the key, which is a service. So that's why you are able to get the session. And then I see the store, you have the store here, and same for the internationalization. Sorry. Yeah. So I copied this one, and I thought maybe if I move it here and then copy this part.
Yeah, we have 3 different services here. As I said, a service is a place where you can store and retrieve data.
Yeah.
You can have access to it from anywhere in your data. So there's the internationalization service, there's the store service that's communicating with the backend, and there's the session service that handles the session.
Yeah.
I just wanted to stress that out because I think 3 people here still struggle with the concept of a session, with the concept of a service. I'm sorry.
You need that line too as well that imparts if you don't have it already, right? Imparts inject as service.
Yes,
that one is there already.
Okay, cool. And I had a question about this, like being as how we're copying and pasting like the same implementation. Like, when is there a point at which you would want to use a component for this service?
You would never use a component for a service.
Okay.
They have a totally different purpose. A component has something to do with a template. It has to do something with rendering. Yeah. And the service is completely without any template.
So there's no way to dry this up.
This one here.
Yeah, like the fact that you're reusing the same thing in different places.
How would you want? Where do you see the redundancy?
Well, he's copying and pasting, so that
Yeah.
makes that there's
He's
redundancy.
saying that we have this session, we have the store here, and
Oh, so you mean it's
putting the store
redundant to
again.
clear? We are using that particular service in this file. So that's the redundancy you see here, Matt.
No, I mean the fact that you need to have different services in different files, I think is, but the fact that like he's copying and pasting the if the session is authenticated, query the store, if this is like that part of it, he's, unless I misunderstood what he's doing.
But I think you just have to call. You just have to ask whether you're authenticated or not.
Yeah.
Because otherwise,
yeah.
If you're not authenticated and you try to save your user language, then it will fail because the server says, well, who are you? Right?
Yeah.
And that's why you ask for
session
is authenticated and so on. And you have to get the user. And you could probably create a new user instead of querying for it first. But it's fine. It's okay. You're expecting that there is a user, and there will always be a user if you're authenticated. By the way, the backend creates a user as soon as you're authenticated. So the first thing that's going to happen when you're logged in, you send a backend request and you wait for it. And this backend request will create a new user if you're just signed up. Okay, so if you log in the very first time, that is the moment, the very moment when the user profile is created. If you ever authenticated, if you ever logged in, there will be user profile for you. You don't have to check for that. Maybe that's also good information. I hope. That's the special thing because we're using this identity service. We don't have to implement the sign up anymore. The sign-up was implemented by Auth0. We don't have to bother about it anymore. We are just having the case someone is authenticated or not. And if the token is verified, this person has signed up before. And then we just create the profile. Does that make sense? No.
Yeah. Yes, it does.
Okay. Joseph think that makes sense. Nobody else everybody else is more too afraid to say no.
Mike, you're super quiet.
Yes, right, Mike. You didn't say anything so far.
Yeah, I've had distractions here. Yeah, I think I left where Joseph was showing how he was using session to he was reading from the session to check if there's something already kept there, and then he was asking if it's stored in the database or not. I think that's what I last remember. And I think Robert gave feedback, but that wasn't so clear. Mama, yeah.
Yeah, maybe Joseph, you can repeat what I tried to explain. So where does the backend request happen?
Right here. So when you click on a language and change the language, the button action for choosing it's executed, and then it comes and you get the service for internationalization, and then when you have that service, then you can set the language so that this library can change the language for your website. So as you can see, if I click German, this guy is doing the translations. because I'm telling you to set.
But that
the
doesn't
lang-
create a backend request changing the language, right?
Yeah, I'll get there. And then you I had to get the session and then set the localization to wait. Yeah, this is not good. The language.
So maybe I just chip in. Just watch out if for the store. Yeah. So the store service is responsible for backend requests. And if you want to see where does the backend request happen, just watch
in
out
the
for the
store.
store. There's the store, exactly. And this line there is querying a record. So it's checking for requesting the backend to get the user profile back in the response. And the response will be in this then user, and then user will be the response from the server. This will be a model, and you can set the locale, the current locale, on the user model, say save, and that will issue another backend request.
Yeah.
But this time an update request because you're updating a model. Mike, does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Cool.
So maybe the .10 is because when you try to query the store for this user, it's a promise. It's async, so it doesn't happen immediately. So you will have to wait, and then after you get the user now, you pass it a callback. When the user arrives, then you can do whatever you want with the user.
Exactly. Cool. Nice. Thank you so much, Joseph. That was very, how do you say in English? Educative? Maybe Matt can help me. He's having internet connectivity issues.
Educational.
Breaking up.
But
educative. Yes, thank you. Educational. Yes. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Informative.
So now I have this part where the user now has the language. When I click the button. Now I want to check. I know this code will not work because I'm just doing seeing how here it works. So I'm trying to go with the flow. Maybe it might not work, but in my head it should work perfectly. So in my head it's working perfectly. So here I get the store. The store is where your state is. So the user might be on the store. And then I say I need the user if we are authenticated, because if you are not, then we'll get an error. And then when I get the user, I call the internationalization service, and then I set the language to the user current saved language. Maybe, if the user doesn't have anything, then I just return the default.
Yeah, so you're doing two things at once here. Inside the parentheses, you have this pipe symbol that is an OR. So if the first statement, user get locale, returns null or undefined, then the second one will be evaluated.
Yeah.
Right? And calculate locale is checking the browser language. Yeah. So checking the browser language if that's something that we recognize. Let's say there are so many different browser languages that could be French, Spanish, whatever, and we're just checking if we know any of those. If it's either English or German, fine, then we take it. If it's none of those, that could be if you have a browser in Russian, then we default to English. That's the last thing. So that's the last resort. English is the last resort.
Yeah.
If we don't have anything. Right?
Yeah.
Make sense to everyone?
Yes.
Cool.
And here we are splitting, because if you even type this on your browser, you get the current language. For me, it was English, British, ENGB.
Maybe you can show it in your browser. So Navigator is a so-called global. In Ember and anywhere in JavaScript, we call global something that we don't import, which is just there, a global variable. A global is, for example, console. You type in console.log, and console is actually a global. But there are other globals, including window and navigator. You can just type in navigator. You don't even have to say this navigator. You just say navigator language, and that's it. And this will work in any browser.
Yeah, so the browser is refreshing, so I can't type anything here.
Yeah, but you can type it in on your left browser, right? And on Node.js, you don't have navigator or window because it's not a browser, actually. The only global that you also have in Node.js server-side is console. And there you can see what's happening. So this navigator language is this string, en-gb. So English is the language, and the localization is Great Britain, which means you can have, for example, British English or American English.
Yeah, if it's American, then it's US, EN.
Yeah, they have subtleties.
EN.
I don't know. I don't know exactly what they do different. So they have different way of writing things. But I think for internationalization, what matters is the way how they write their dates, for example, or the
currency as well.
Yeah.
So now our application now has crashed because of this code right here.
I think everybody gets the point here. I think you explained it very well, Joseph, and maybe the others can give a feedback. Matt, Anita, Mike, how if you get everything what Joseph was explaining, because you can of course make it more pretty and later on send a pull request, but the point here is to give everyone some insight, some lessons, something to learn how things are working.
But currently it's not working.
Yeah, but the concept was clear, I think. Everybody does understand what's going on. There's some random errors now, but you eventually will fix it, I'm very sure. And if you send the pull request, everybody can check out the pull request and understand what's going on.
Yeah, sure.
Right? Cool. So everyone else, who wants to continue on?
Yeah, thank you, Joseph. That was good. It makes me want to code. I don't have anything really. The only thing I have RFM related is that I was talking to, because last week was the first RFM meeting I've missed since I joined actively joined Agile Ventures.
That's okay. I think up to the point you were joining more RFM meetings than I.
Yeah.
This one.
It was a little sad, and to be honest, I probably could have. I was sprinting last week, but like the meetings happened late enough to where like Sam's not on anymore. But I was right in the middle of trying to figure out something, and yeah, it just didn't work out. But the thing I was talking to Sam today, and we were talking about the sprinting stuff, and he had mentioned that he wants to do a sprint on RFM. So I guess like that's really the only thing I have for RFM at the moment, is that it would be nice to advance that conversation so we can have a full week of working on RFM with as many people as want to take part.
Yeah. Also, I since weeks I want to run another Ember mob programming session where I want to invite more people of the community to learn Ember.js. I just didn't do it because of time. But that's definitely something. And I also told I was having the conversation with Sam that I want to run an Ember mob. Yes, I should do that.
Also,
weekly,
you can get some, maybe every project inside Agile Ventures can get some tips from Robert on how to set up Docker. because running this project like took me 5 minutes to run the project and finish the this ticket. But anyways, it was small, but setting up a website one,
Yeah.
it wasn't easy. Like here, I just did Docker Compose up. I was like crossing my fingers, and then everything was fine.
Well, I mean, we
That's
you know,
great.
I mean, definitely, I have stolen some stuff from the configuration. But to be fair, it's not that there hasn't been issues with the Dockerization of
That's
RFM.
true.
And I've definitely spent time with Tanita and Robert and others on debugging some stuff. But also, I think that like one of the things is that's going on the back of what Robert was saying about Ember.js. One of the things I think a big issue I think with the Dockerization of website one is not necessarily with the Docker and the Docker setup, but with the performance of the site itself. So I think that the RFM is quite a performance site. In part because of Ember.js, so that helps, you know.
Oh yeah, like that. Oh, sorry, go on.
Regarding the Docker setup, this especially is something you have to test with many people, with many machines, with many hands. They have to validate your local setup and give you feedback. Okay, there's something breaking on my machine, whatever, or local setup in general. Also the README, where do people get stuck? Are there things that they don't understand? Is the README too short? Is the README too long? It's very crucial that you keep that well maintained. And we tested that. So if you apparently you set it up after we did that already because it was running so smoothly on your machine, and that's a good feedback because it means we did our validation right.
Yeah, except for the if you git pull and maybe someone had updated the package lock, then
yeah. If you want to pull in the master and you want to rerun the dependencies, that's a bummer. I didn't find a solution for it because I didn't understand the problem yet.
The problem, I've found a solution like, not me, let me not take the credit, but it was Matt. You need to do Docker Compose down and then Docker Compose up and then -- build, and then everything will be okay.
Yeah, that's working for sure. That's working 100%. However, is there any way to run the Docker Compose without rebuilding the container?
That we tried. I think the last time we were debugging it, we tried like running Docker Compose down and that tag -v to remove the volumes, and then trying to just run that Docker Compose that runs the bundle install and npm install and try that so that you wouldn't have to actually rebuild, and that didn't seem like it was working actually.
Yeah,
that's what I remember anyways.
I put that in the Slack. Just continue on talking while I'll type it into the Slack, just for reference, putting the commands into our Slack.
It's something that I'm going to be talking about on Friday. If you guys want to check out my talk, is the issues with actually using Docker for local development and the questions around that, and like you said, Robert, with like especially with website one, we in our haste to invite everyone to start using it, we released it and getting people to use, and there's no you can't write unit tests to check to see if the Docker setup is working, so you might think it's working and then you realize that on a different person's machine it's not, or on a different OS it's not, or on so. But Joseph, you find that that extra step about needing when you start working on it, I guess mostly you're doing a git pull from master when you're starting on a new feature that you're working on, and you haven't it's been okay for you to just run that extra step and just rebuild it and kind of grab a coffee while you're doing that, and then jump into actually developing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing I was gonna talk about, like in my talk, is it. I think like if you're in a pairing session where you only have like a short amount of time, like sometimes it can be a little bit of an annoyance.
Yeah.
At least for
Or
me. But
yeah, or even if you have like slow internet, I
yeah,
think it's faster because I have faster internet. But if you have like slow internet, then you'll have to cook.
yeah. And the thing is, I guess, like what Robert brought up, like, because that's what my advice for Tanita was, just rebuild it. But the thing is that when you rebuild it, like the Robert pointed out, is that it will sense that you have a change in your gem file, and so it will run bundle. It'll fetch and install all of the dependencies for Rails dependencies. Which, if you do things locally, or if you do things like with the Docker Compose run whatever service command, then it will only fetch and install the ones that you don't already have and that need to be updated. So that's like, a huge motive for wanting to get that sorted out.
Yeah, great. I pinned it in the Slack. And Tonita, you're going to leave. You have to go home. Yes, hope you enjoyed it anyways. And yeah.
Indeed. Nice to meet you guys after a while.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Good
Cool.
to see you.
If you want to continue working on, there's still the refactoring of the D3 part.
Yeah, we started with Mike today, working on the issue.
Nice.
So we're trying to create legend for the bubble chart using D2.
Yeah, or refactoring the bubble chart.
Actually refactoring. Yeah.
Cool. Right, cool. Then, yes.
Yeah, see you guys then later.
See you.
Bye.
Have a good evening, night, whatever.
Yeah, you as well.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Yeah, it's been a while, huh? And we're talking since, I think, 90 minutes. We should maybe fast forward a little. So I think, Mike, is there anything new from your side? Like, do you want to show us something? Did you work on RFM the past week? Do you have any questions, help, blockers?
Not really. We just started working on refactoring of the bubble chat with Tonida, and we haven't really covered much ground. We'll be pairing on her again tomorrow.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's the only RFM task that I've touched on.
Okay. Yes. So feel free to continue on that with Tonida. If you have any questions, you know who you can ask. And anybody else. Joseph, you showed us what you're currently working on. You're going probably to finish it and send a pull request, and we will celebrate you for that. Matt, you are busy with preparation of your talk.
Yeah.
You want me to give you anything in particular, or do you expect to get something into your pipeline, or is it just enough for you for now?
Probably not right now, because this weekend I'm gonna be doing the talk stuff, and then starting on Monday we're doing sprinting on local sports, so I'll probably be tied up with that until. But I hope to join our next week, and then I definitely want to work on something else for sure.
All right, so I guess every one of us is happy with his or her next task. Are there any final questions? Anything you would like to learn? Anything you want to ask? Are there any blockers so far?
I'm glad I joined, because it reminded me that I definitely need to put some slides in about how RFM was the first project I started contributing with Agile Ventures.
Nice.
And put a picture of the screenshot of the homepage, or some of the visualizations that are really cool and nice to show off for people, and also I'm talking about the fact that we use lots of different languages like Elixir and Ember.js, so I think that will definitely add to my presentation. So cool. Yeah, and big thanks to you guys.
Yes, big thanks to you if you're going to mention the project.
Okay, guys, bye.
All right.
I'll have to drop off.
Yep.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Robert.
Yes.
About the mob the mob sessions for Ember, like what's the plan? Like how do you want to do like the Ember
plan
basics, for instance, or is it just working on something like what we are doing in RFM?
We can take RFM as an example, but the point is I enlisted to be one of the incentivized mentors at Agile Lunches, and I have the feeling that I'm not contributing enough. Meaning I'm just running this RFM project and doing the weekly meetings and have troubles to find time. And it would be great to have some kind of mob programming session in Ember.js, probably just doing the tutorial, the Ember guides, to give everyone a good feeling for Ember.js. I would probably not take RFM as an example because it's a full-fledged application, and it's I think we never did the ordinary tutorial of the Ember guides. I would probably take the Ember guides as an example. That's the official tutorial. It's here. That was my idea. Maybe you have a better idea. Do you have a better idea?
No, I'm interested to being part of it so that I may.
Yes, of course. You're very welcome to be part of it.
Yeah, I may get jump started on this Ember guy. Yeah, because I've never really gone through the Ember.js tutorials. Like what
the
I've
Ember
done.
Guides is the resource for learning Ember. I strongly recommend to you to go through the Ember Guides. It's one afternoon work.
Okay.
It's very sparse. They only cover the most important parts, but you will understand a lot more. You will learn all the different concepts. Okay, what's a route? Even the terminology. What's a route? What's a component? What's a service? You will get an introduction into testing, what different test flavors you have. You have unit testing, you have component testing, there's the acceptance testing. The component lifecycle is very important. So what hooks are called in which order when a component is rendered into the virtual DOM? How do you pass properties? How do I send callbacks up to the parent component or the controller? What is a controller, by the way? All the basic things. These are all covered in the Ember guides. If you want to learn some Ember, that's the first thing that you should go and check out.
Okay.
Definitely. They have some stuff that you actually go building as well, you know, which is always good.
They're going to build an example application.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
So, no more questions?
No, I gotta get back to. I have a we were pairing on a website one pull request, and then we put it there and then just left it, and it's been a while, so we need to go back and.
I know.
Speaking of, did what's going on with FAQ?
Nothing. FAQ is still the same state. It's not merged. But I was doing some research on the styling thing.
Yeah.
I'm not good in CSS, and I'm not good in picking the right CSS framework, and I'm not good in finding a good workflow.
Yeah.
In other frameworks, I learned that most people now start in, especially for component-based frameworks like React, Vue.js, to write component-specific CSS. And it seems, I never tried it out, but it seems that this is a good approach in which you can write custom CSS and still have it maintainable. And there's a plugin for Ember that helps you CSS component. I'll check it out for you. Which is very well maintained. It's called very easy, Ember component CSS.
All right, that's easy to remember.
This one here and here in Slack, and you can scroll through it. And I thought maybe the FAQ tiles in our page in the current pull request, they looked somehow, I don't know, they didn't really they look different than the rest of the page.
Yeah.
And I don't have a good solution for it yet, but maybe this is a good opportunity to try out this plugin and just write custom CSS for this FAQ tile thing, whatever, and not just resort to anything that Semantic UI gives us.
Yeah. Yeah, especially since it's difficult because the way we're using it as a component, like we're iterating over, and it's like, you know, instead of just having one of them, which you can place where you want, we have like you're iterating over each one, and then they're kind of like the only things at our disposal is rows and columns, and even the columns, like we can't exactly put a column in, every third one or whatever. Like
for the FAQ, it's still possible because there's a static count how many we have. I think we have 12, and those 12 you can easily place in layout, like either 3 rows and 4 columns, or 4 rows and 3 columns.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is my recommendation for this task. So if you have some free time left, I don't know, but probably not. But if you can check that out. It's apparently a very well maintained Ember plugin. That's also something I had to learn. I removed a couple of plugins that were not well maintained and were giving us deprecation warnings.
Yeah,
I removed them.
Yeah, I want to have like we're having an issue, like I'm going to talk about in my talk, where like we're a big reason why we talked about Dockerizing website 1 is because people are getting stuck on the Capybara WebKit part of it, and then like Mac users, and then we went through trying to debug that and giving them the tools that we had used to get through it before and stuff, and it just wasn't working, and then so we're like, okay, well, maybe Docker's a solution. And then like to come to find out, like Capybara WebKit, we're not actually even really using anymore in website 1, or at least like we were able to. I went through and I saw that it wasn't actually like to learn a little bit more about Capybara WebKit and what exactly it's used for and why we need it for the project. And then I saw how you configure it, and I went there and like, well, we're not even configuring it the way they said that we should configure it. And then I just like, okay, I'm going to try things. I just removed it, and then ran all the tests, and they all still passed. And it was like, so this whole like problem of trying to get people on board, and we're not even using the gem, like. So it's one challenge of that I'm going to talk about, like with open source and distributed teams and all this kind of stuff, is that sometimes it's difficult to know some things change, and then. And it's same like there's a Twitter gem as well that we've like identified as something we want to remove. So like it's my thought that if we actually dig into it, there probably are more examples, that we can just have a general cleanup,
Yeah. Good story, huh?
Yeah.
giving everybody a pain. And
yeah.
No reason.
Yeah, exactly. Like literally absolutely no reason. Unfortunately, local support seems to actually still use a WebKit, so can't just do that there. And like this whole like moving, I'd like to, I don't know. I mean, this whole moving from Phantom.js Poltergeist to headless Chrome and it just being nothing. That wasn't my experience. Like I made the move and just like everything's failing, and I spent hours and hours and hours and wrote a blog about it, and then it just got kind of abandoned. It's like there's not really lots of energy to really figure it out, because it's like, well, is Phantom.js, even though Phantom.js is no longer being maintained, is it working? Yeah, okay, so what's the motive for moving on? And it's like, well, I don't know. It's not being maintained. The maintainer said like this is the end after the announcement of Google Chrome headless. So, at some point it will cause problems, but it's like, well, yeah, but we'll deal with that when it comes. It's like,
okay. But it also sheds some light on how you wrote your test, because they apparently are Phantom or Poltergeist specific.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, my thinking is that I should probably give it a go again after, because one of the things for is that like there's other things like dependencies like Capybara, for example, the dependabot is like getting upgraded for us, and that possibly having those changes merged in maybe will make a difference in like getting the test for us to be able to move on. But yeah, I'm not sure.
Wow. Yeah. Refactorings, but
yeah.
I hope did you eventually succeeded?
No, it's in a state of abandon at the moment. Like, Sam was like, write a blog about it, about the, what are the possibilities, and I wrote a blog about it, and then it's kind of just nothing's really happened since then. It's like there's that whole thing of like, because I was doing the same thing with like with local support. It's like, the people at Bower are telling you to move on from Bower and to go to Yarn, like, so why are we using Bower, like, let's move to Yarn. But then it was like, yeah, and then then it was kind of a bit like, Sam was kind of saying like, we need to balance what the client's needs are against like what could potentially make life easier for developers,
Yeah, so, you're kind of optimizing for the future. You're not feeling the pain yet.
Yeah.
Can you gradually use Capybara WebKit and Poltergeist? Can you use Poltergeist and Chrome Headless?
It doesn't seem like it. I mean, maybe, but it doesn't seem like
Capybara. Yes, of course you're using Capybara.
Yeah, we're using Capybara.
It is possible.
But you can use Capybara with Headless Chrome, yeah. But you're saying use with Poltergeist.
So are you running Cucumber tests?
Yeah.
And you're using Capybara?
Yeah.
And you're using Poltergeist?
Yeah.
But you want to use Chrome Headless?
Seems to be the problem. It's just Phantom.js. So maybe like maybe instead of Phantom.js, just use Headless Chrome and stay with Poltergeist.
There's a way. So you want to get your changes back into master. I guess there are some tests you already migrated to Chrome driver. Is that right?
With using Phantom.js, no. But removing WebKit, yeah.
I thought you put a lot of time in.
Yeah. I did, yeah. I have it's a pull request, but it hasn't been merged in.
Because there are still some tests remaining that were failing, and
lots of them.
Yeah, I mean, my suggestion is you use tags, right? There you can have multiple drivers, one for Poltergeist, one for Headless Chrome. And then you tag those that are not yet migrated, that are currently failing. You tag those as Poltergeist or Legacy Poltergeist, whatever, Phantom.js, and those will use another driver.
Nice.
The new Cucumber tests are using your Chrome Headless driver.
Nice.
So you're not having the pain, and you can merge it back into master with no issues.
Yeah, nice. That's a good idea. Yeah,
I can send you Cucumber tags.
I've seen like before, because we use for VCR and we use for Billy and we use for JavaScript and I think I actually have seen using for Poltergeist maybe.
Yeah, it's very common. It's very common, especially to change the driver of the JavaScript driver, for example. There you can, for example, say I want to run this with standard WebKit, standard WebRig, or no, just without JavaScript. If you have a very static page, and that's so much faster than having a JavaScript driver.
Yeah, the rack is the default.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is why the first PR I put in about like adding Headless Chrome driver got merged in, because I was configuring it in the RSpec file, and then the RSpec doesn't even use it just uses rack, so it's like got merged in and like without any failures because of that, and then it was like the only thing that uses that or would use that Chrome headless is the Capybara,
So I'm trying to find some documentation for the tests. Yeah, so there's here you go. and yeah, looks like that. You know it.
Cool. Yeah, thank you. No, I mean, that's good though. It at least gives a way forward. I mean, I you know, at this point, I don't know if I've convinced
you're feeling the pain of having a stale branch getting more and more out of sync as soon as more the master progresses. And you want to get your branch back into master, right? You don't want to maintain. You want to have it in the main branch in master.
Yeah,
and
I mean, at the
you
moment,
don't have to do everything at once, right?
Yep. Yep.
It would be great.
I mean, at the moment, it's in like danger of just being closed and just saying like we're not gonna move on from Phantom.js until we have a really strong. But that's the thing. Like, I mean, if we wait until it all blows up, then that's going to be kind of too late. But maybe, you know, or maybe someone says like Phantom.js is like really worth it and steps in as the maintainer, and then we never actually have a problem in the future. You know?
There's no reason why someone should start maintaining Phantom.js, except for legacy.
Headless Chrome, is that just that much better?
It's a real browser. Phantom.js is something that no human user is using. It's from the time when there was no way of that headless browser. And people of Chrome, they understood that they have a lot of developers that are running that are running tests in the browser, but they don't want to have a browser window popping up somewhere. And they don't need it for scripting purposes. And so they split they refactored, I guess, the browser to have a headless part, and then top of that they can put the UI for the actual browser that you as a human being would use.
Yeah.
And Phantom.js was just for that, because there was at the time there was just the head full of the head browser. The non-headless browser. And since there is some, why using Phantom.js? You shouldn't.
Yeah.
Because those two browsers will behave differently. A test that will run fine for Chrome may fail for Phantom.js and vice versa. And that's not what you want. That's not what you're testing for. You're testing for an actual browser, you know, not for something else.
For a robot to be able to use.
I had that before. I once had, when I was using Phantom.js, I had lots of tests that were running fine in Chrome and didn't in Phantom.js because it was just behaving differently.
Yeah. No, I definitely want to, and just I guess in the case of like the local support, for example, like we have one file, one JavaScript file that uses like this Google info box that uses Bower, and because of that, we're like, you know, even though the Bower people themselves are like, please move on to Yarn, and here are the reasons why to move on to Yarn, we still have it maintained because of that one file, and it's like, I just, you know, like, why, you know, like, and so then I moved it from Bower to Yarn and got that working, but then it's like now then we have Yarn and NPM in the same project, and it's like, okay, well then why don't we move NPM to Yarn? But then it was like, if we only have one JavaScript file, like, why don't we just copy that JavaScript file locally and just use it locally? And then that worked. I got it working that way as well. But then it was like, but then we had this whole talk with which we're gonna review next week, I guess. Sam and I during the sprint, of like, you know, the person who added the like NPM, we don't like NPM itself. We only have for that purpose as well. You know, it's like one file. You know, so but then they're like, well, in the future, you know, it's better to have a dependency manager, a package manager. You know, but it's like, okay. I agree if you're going to add packages to it, but if you don't, then it seems like a lot of time, you know, running that file every time you push to CI and every time you run your tests and all this kind of stuff, like just for that one file that you could just copy locally.
Okay, cool. I hope I could help you a little.
Yes, you did. Thank you. It's always good to see you.
Well, then I would say let's call it a day. It's almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
I think it's left us. Hope people who check out the video don't mind, because I guess many people don't want to watch a video that's going for 80 minutes.
Yeah, I agree.
I hope. Oh, Mike also left. I didn't notice.
Yeah, it's getting late where you and them are.
Yeah. All right.
But
Well then,
cool.
Matt, we are the only one remaining.
Yes.
I'm getting hungry. Then I'll stop the broadcast, and this was the regular meeting of RFM.